The Republican National Committee's decision to censure Congressman Adam Kinzinger and Congresswoman Liz Cheney for serving on the January 6th commission sparked an uproar, not just on the left, but from some on the right as well. Republican senators, including Mitt Romney and Bill Cassidy, scolded the RNC for disciplining Kinzinger and Cheney for participating in what the committee called the, quote, Democrat-led persecution of ordinary citizens engaged in legitimate public discourse. And more, you're seeing prominent members of the GOP rise up and try to take the party back from extremists. Now, to be clear, I've criticized the excessive coverage the left-leaning networks give to the January 6th Commission. Every subpoena is breaking news, and that coverage often feels purely political. But censuring members for even participating? Former Montana Governor Marc Racicot ran the RNC from 2001 to 2003. And he is very concerned about the direction of the party under current chairwoman Ronna McDaniel. In an open letter to McDaniel published by the Billings Gazette this week, Racicot expressed his outrage that the RNC disciplined Cheney and Kinzinger. Quote, how is it that an official inquiry undertaken to pursue and determine the truth can be so threatening? How is it that faithfulness to one's country and fellow citizens can be so precipitously and eagerly sacrificed in exchange for political victory or the pursuit of power or both? How is it that the responsibility to assess accountability, if the facts establish it, can be so easily dismissed? There has been no honest and reasonable answer to any of those questions. Racicot also slammed McDaniel over the party's continued embrace of Donald Trump, and as Racicot puts it, Trump's, quote, piffle about the 2020 election. The former governor believes the decision to stand with Trump has ultimately cost the GOP and will continue to do so, quote, in the Republican National Committee's search for power for its own sake and its obsession with winning at any cost. You've sacrificed the allegiance of a great many and a growing number of your most ardent and longtime supporters. Regrettably, it appears you have hitched your wagon to the wrong star. Now, the data shows that the audience for Racicot's message could be growing. 56% of Republicans now say their primary allegiance is to the party, while 36% back Trump ahead of the GOP. That number has swung 18 points against Trump over the past year and a half. With numbers like that, the question is the time right for Republicans like Marc Racicot to try to take the party, or is that, as Donald Trump might say, just a rhino dream? Joining us now is a former Montana governor and RNC chair, Marc Racicot. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
It's my privilege. Thanks.
Why did you write this article and this open letter?
Well, for quite a long period of time, I've had growing concern about the state of our democracy and whether it is threatened by a lot of the things that are taking place in the political arena and across the country. This was a striking example, it seemed to me, where we have made mistakes and where there has been excessive and an inordinate amount of harsh language used to describe what it is taking place among members. I thought that the censure was unsupported by any evidence whatsoever, and that the critique of Representatives Kinzinger and Cheney for doing their constitutional duty was unsupported by the evidence. In fact, there was no evidence at all that I could discern. And as a consequence, it was a great mistake, not only for the Republican Party, but was one more additional circumstance where the fabric of the country is torn apart at the seams by allegations that are not justified or supported by any factual information.
Let me believe, you believe the GOP is ignoring what you call the great middle. It's the group that we target on this show. To quote from your letter, you say, I believe you and the members of the committee have substantially underestimated the great middle of America and what's happening with all of those good and decent people from sea to shining sea made up of Democrats, Republicans, and independents. The great middle is in the process of organizing itself with a higher goal, quietly but surely, not by express agreement or party affiliation, by the standards of decency, integrity, honor, and faithfulness to the best interests of the Republic. I have to tell you that I often feel like we've been abandoned by both parties, but I worry that the primary process ensures that we will continue to be marginalized.
Well, I think you're entirely correct. And that's actually one of the concrete steps that we're going to try and initiate in the state of Montana, either a bill before the legislature or an initiative process, because it's about to have a nonpartisan primary election. The grooming of candidates by the parties, both Democrat and Republican, and only providing a passage through the gate of those that meet their approval, we think deprives the majority of Americans the opportunity to choose the candidates that ultimately are in a contest against each other in a general election. So I think your critique is spot on.
Let me ask you this. Some are going to say that it's almost all Republicans who are out of power, who are complaining about the direction of the party, and that the leadership has left folks like you behind, and that, you know, they're happy to say sayonara to what they would describe as a rhino. What's your response?
Well, that's an unfortunate amount of cynicism, I think, laced into an allegation that has actually no factual basis. You know, the fact of the matter is, you're a good lawyer from Columbia. You know that the Constitution that is a social contract between the people and their government, and that each of us as a citizen pledges our loyalty, first of all, to the Constitution, to the nation, to our fellow citizens all across the country, and that political party is something that comes second. And the fact is that as you talk to the people across this nation, and frankly, all of the feedback I've gotten almost overwhelmingly has voiced the same concerns that I have, that the fabric of the country is being torn apart, and it can be corrected, it can be fixed, we can be resilient, but we have to go about returning back to the timeless values that have served this country so well for so long. And once again, embrace the constitutional principles that makes each one of us a citizen.
Just moments ago, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy endorsed a pretty far-right candidate running against Liz Cheney, which would seem to indicate that, again, the heart of the party, he will probably become the majority leader if the Republicans take the House, are not on the same page as you on this. Do you still consider yourself a Republican?
Absolutely. I'm a conservative, and I probably occupy the center-right part of the political spectrum, but I have absolutely no desire nor inclination to abandon my party. I've been a part of it for many decades. I just think that they have been captured by notions that they think are the currency of the day, and I believe the majority of the American people don't see it that way. And we're seeing more and more evidence of that, and my letter to them was meant to show them or illustrate to them they've made terrible mistakes by assuming the things they've assumed and by pledging their allegiance to facts and circumstances that aren't established by any realistic or competent information or evidence. So if they keep going down that path, in my judgment, they're going to regret it. In fact, I would suspect, I'd suggest to you tonight that there are a great many of them already that regret it. I've gotten calls from around the country, just as many from Democrats as Republicans. And Mr. Abrams, I'm not complaining about just Republicans. I'm talking about what we're doing in this nation with our political affairs and our deliberations.
Look, I agree. I talk about it all the time on the show. It's the reason we wanted you on this show, is because what we try to do on this program is advocate for the middle, advocate for common sense, to avoid the extremes, to call out the political extremes on both sides. I try and do that on a regular basis. It's never good enough for the right. It's never good enough for the left, depending on what story I'm doing. Today, I'm sure that the right and the far right will be very upset and claim, oh, you have him on, et cetera. But this is what I deal with on a regular basis, and we're thrilled that you came on the show. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
It's my privilege. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.